Hello there, everyone. Josh. What's up? It's our health segment week, and we're going to be talking about sex, drugs, and alcohol. Everyone's favorite topics. Alcohol actually is a drug, so it should be sex, drugs, and drugs. But most people don't think of alcohol as a drug. We'll get there. But, talking about it, I'm going to go ahead and lay this out here. Yeah, I grew up in the church, and hearing the whole Bible says not to do it, God says not to do it thing, never really helped me. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give you a bunch of Bible verses of why not to do it. I'm not going to say, oh, this is what God said, blah. But this is going to be the last I mention of that. Because I want to show you real reasons, healthy reasons, why we probably should avoid sex outside of marriage. We should probably avoid drugs, alcohol, that kind of stuff. And we're just going to look at it. Talk about it a little bit. By talk about it, I mean I'll talk to that camera and hope you're going to respond to me. I'll sit here and wait for you to say something, to acknowledge me, and nothing will happen. Like this. You there? Oh, guess you're not there anymore. See? That was awkward. So anyway, sex, drugs, and alcohol. Well, let's start with alcohol. Because honestly, now alcohol is the easiest one to talk about. It's bad for you, but it has some benefits. The thing with alcohol, it can cause a lot of heart problems if you drink in excess. It does liver failure, fatty liver, all those other liveripholuses, which I'll talk about in my blog on joshuanoel.net. But what's important to understand about alcohol is it has all those the negative effects. It's also it's a depressant. We get addicted to it because it numbs our feelings, it slows us down, and that whole numbing feeling is what people actually enjoy. But then you're like, well, how's it a depressant? If people drink and they go, woo, and they have fun. It's because it's numbing you so that you're not thinking about everything. So you're just doing stuff. Not thinking isn't a good thing. It's a bad thing. But it also, it's weird, it's a depressant, but it helps with your release of dopamine. So it does make you feel good, but it also makes you feel bad. Confusing, right? Yeah, I know. Well, here's the thing. If you're sad and stuff, drinking's not going to make you any less sad. You're just not going to feel it. And that's why people drink and they just wallow in their misery, and they just keep wallowing and wallowing until you stop drinking and address your issues. It doesn't ever help. But if you're just looking to have a fun time tonight, you drink a little bit, you kind of push through, and then you just have fun with, yay, I don't think, let me do stupid stuff. Drinking, you typically aren't your normal self. There's different types of drunks, people will say. Well, I mean, it's because you're not thinking, so you're not guarding yourself. Like I'm on constant guard to keep myself slower, to keep myself more focused. Well, if I were to drink, then I wouldn't be as focused. I'd be all over the place, and I'd be more sporadic because I don't have any guards up. What that also means is in social settings, people don't have their guards up. Alcohol is something that causes a lot of dangers with different social situations. It causes a lot of dangers with yourself, your own responsibility, and because of how it numbs you, it can be addictive because sometimes we just don't want to feel. And that's more of it, less that alcohol is addictive and more that we have a society where people don't want to feel, and thus we get addicted to that ideal. It's more the ideal you get addicted to. Alcohol isn't necessarily an addictive substance. We are just addictively people. Addictively people. That's not a word. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Moving on, other types of drugs. You have your heroin, your cocaine, and all that. I'm going to list specific stuff about that, again, on the post at joshuanoel.net. But the main thing to keep in mind with these drugs is that these actually do cause addictions. They rewire how your mind works, which means you actually do think you need it, and then this whole withdrawal thing is because your body becomes dependent on it, and you actually do end up needing it. I really don't think anyone starts as like, hey, I'm gonna try some cocaine, and I'm not gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it once and be addicted forever. That's my plan. Like, no one starts planning to be addicted for the rest of their life. But here's the thing. You don't have to plan for it to happen. Your mind is being rewired. The you who are right now saying, I'm not going to get addicted to this, is not the same you after you take the drug, because it slowly rewires your mind, one step at a time. Different ones cause different types of withdrawals. Heroin's really painful withdrawals, but they don't last as long as like cocaine's. Not as bad withdrawals, but they'll last forever. Um, some of them actually have some minor things. Amphetamines, people use those. I used the wrong word there. That was weird. Alright, it's right here. It's amphetamines. Amphetamines. I knew that. I was blanking. Please make fun of me now. I'll give you a second. Okay. Amphetamines. The thing with those is, technically Adderall's type is like the same type family group. So amphetamines actually help people with ADD, ADHD, and it's, focus, calm, and it sounds nice, but it is still addictive, does still rewire your mind, and it still causes a lot of damage. Stuff like your liver, your pancreas, how your body functions, changes your hormonal setup. Everything's connected. So when you mess up one thing, you're messing up everything. And it's not just going to be a one-time thing. Because remember, the you that's going into deciding, I'm just going to do this drug just one time, it's not the same you that comes out from the drug. It rewires how your mind works. So keep that locked away. I'm going to make special mention of our good friend marijuana, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, that's not that bad. Other drugs do that. It's not as addictive, doesn't hurt your mind as much, and doesn't do as much to your body. That actually is true. All of that's true. But here's the thing, just like alcohol, even though it's not as addictive, it has that release of dopamine. And what that means is that it causes you to feel nice, and people keep getting it. It's anti-stress. People in our society very stressed out. Of course they want this. And if you're smoking it, it's considerably worse for you. Also with marijuana, just a quick note, there's two different types. It's up there, hemp and cannabis. Hemp is all the health benefits you hear people like, yeah, we need to make it legal because it can relieve stress and help with cancer and AIDS and makes you turn into Superman. Okay, well, when they typically talk about all the studies with that, that's the hemp side of things. And what it really comes down to is this idea of CBD or THC. THC is what gives you the high. CBD is something that actually guards you from the high, like it's like anti that. Hemp has 0.3% THC, whereas regular marijuana, cannabis, stuff that people use as like recreational drug, it can get up to 30% THC. Cannabis, the recreational, is always higher in that THC, the stuff that causes you the high, than it is in CBD. Whereas hemp, the stuff that's used in hospitals, the stuff that's used in certain foods, like there's hemp oil and stuff, that is always higher in the CBD, which is the stuff that prevents you from getting the high. I'm not saying I'm on one side or the other. I want to make sure I give the information that is due. So that's really what you're looking at when someone's saying the health benefits. They're usually looking at hemp. People are talking all about how it causes all the damage. It's usually the cannabis. That's why you'll see through studies where some people are like, yeah, it helps with cancer, and then other people are like, yeah, it makes cancer worse. Well, it's because there's two distinct different things when we talk about marijuana. And you have to realize cannabis is the drug, the recreational thing. It has no place here. And in fact, most countries, hemp's legally grown, cannabis is not. And there is a reason for that. Again, more on that on the actual post. Just kind of listing information for you there, and I'm listing information for you here the best I can in a quick time span. Finally, I'm talking about sex. Sex is really, really healthy, actually. Helps your heart. It helps all this other stuff. Flashback to the alcohol. Alcohol in moderate amounts, just to give you all the information. Moderate amounts of alcohol, like like 1 drink a week, 2 glasses of wine a day, something like that, actually could be good for your heart, could be good for even your liver, it could be good for your mind. But remember, excess can destroy these things, so there's a huge risk there. And again, even though it's not an addictive substance, the fact that it numbs you causes you to be addicted. Back to sex. You have much of the similar stuff. With sex, it's not like you can get an excess amount of sex. But outside of one partner, all this other stuff, slowly we start seeing more diseases with sex, STDs, all that kind of stuff. So there's a danger there. There's also this idea that it affects the same part of your mind as cocaine without rewiring your mind. Which, what that means is then that your tingling senses that cause you to feel what could be an addiction. You're also getting this high levels of dopamine that just makes you feel great, which is all cool. But the problem is, you're doing that with a bunch of different people, and all of a sudden it's just the thing itself is what matters to you instead of the people. And it wasn't necessarily that people were made specifically like to be with just one person. I mean, and that's the hard thing. When we look at the nature of mammals, 3 to 5% of mammals are the ones that were made to be monogamous. Humans, it's hard to determine whether we were meant to be that or not because of something called social monogamy. Because it's so much part of our social structure, we see that two mates were there for each other. And that was formed for the sake of children, through social Darwinism, social evolution, however you want to look at that. To see what it actually looks on the natural side, it's much more difficult to do that because you can't take that social element away. But what we do know is that throughout time, throughout periods, people have been with multiple partners. There's nothing that's biological that says you're made that you're just going to want to do this with one person. You're not going to just want to do it with one person. Just being straightforward with you. And that's part of understanding that you either have to choose to overcome yourself and your desires to do that, and one of the easiest ways to do that is just to be with one person in the first place. Because the more you do it with other people, the more it becomes about the thing that is sex than it is the person. And if that doesn't matter to you, it doesn't matter to you. But if you want to be married one day and say this is the love of your life, well, how you love them is going to change depending on how you treat sex. Because of how it tingles your mind, because of the dopamine release, because you weren't made for one person. So the moment you give into that instinct gets stronger. So physically, we can't say, but what I can say is that biologically, if you want that one love of your life, you need to be dedicated to it from when you're young. You can't say, oh, I'm going to have sex around with a bunch of different people now, then later be like, oh, okay, just one person. Because that instinct to just go doesn't go away. A lot of health benefits with sex. There is. It's good for your heart. It's a good stress reliever. It's an antidepressant. Sex is good for you. But if you want it to be about the person, that's a decision based on how it affects your mind and stuff that you have to make at a young age. Commit yourself so that your bodily instincts don't overcome what your mind's telling you, what your heart's telling you, and all that. If you want real love, that's a decision you have to make. Because as much of it is a cliche, true love waits. So that's sex, drugs, and alcohol, looking at it from kind of a health, sciencey kind of perspective. Again, more on the posts on joshuanoel.net.